Since childhood, Lainey Kerrigan dreamed of becoming as beautiful and successful as Marilyn Monroe. But Lainey was invisible. The guy she liked was dating another girl. However, as Lainey grew older, she changed significantly. She worked hard on herself to achieve the figure and appearance of her dreams. Now she is a reporter and frequently appears on television. Lainey has a boyfriend, Cal Cooper, a football star. Lainey's friend and colleague, Andrea, frequents the gym with her where they work out together. In general, Lainey has achieved success, and her life seems carefree and fulfilling. Working on television has allowed this young woman to realize herself. Lainey's boss, Dennis, offers her participation in a competition that will open up new opportunities for her, including a position as the host of the morning news. But Lainey will have to learn to work with a camera and cooperate with her ex-boyfriend Pete, as he is the best in this field. Lainey doesn't want this, but for the sake of her career, she's willing to do anything. So the former lovers started working together. Lainey intended to communicate with Pete solely on business, while he fooled around and suggested she have some fun. Of course, Lainey refused. Now she is only concerned with her own image, and Pete knows that. During an interview, Pete decided to prank Lainey by giving her a microphone with a squeaky voice effect. Pete was very pleased with himself, but Lainey clearly did not appreciate the joke. Later, she complained to Dennis about Pete's incompetence, but the boss did not change his decision, advising them to mend their relationship. Left alone, the former lovers began to argue. Lainey claimed that she was happy with her fiancé Cal and that her life was perfect. After work, Lainey had dinner at a restaurant with Andrea, who also aspired to the position of morning news anchor. But Andrea assured the friend that she was not upset and was happy for her. During the conversation, it turned out that some time ago, something also happened between Andrea and Pete. Lainey said she didn't care. In the morning, a homeless man stood in the middle of the street and began predicting the future, claiming that today at noon, there would be a crash on Highway 405, and next week strikes would begin in the industrial areas. Jack became a local legend, so Lainey planned to interview him. She didn't believe in predictions, but nevertheless decided to ask the prophet if she would get a promotion. Jack answered no. Pete turned on the camera, and Lainey with her usual smile began asking Jack questions about the upcoming football match. Jack predicted the outcome of the game. He also predicted that tomorrow there would be hail, although the weather forecasters promised clear weather. When the interview was over, Jack told Lainey that she would die in a week, next Thursday. Lainey thought it was just another silly joke from Pete. In the evening, she shared this with Andrea. She too was sure that Pete put the homeless man up to it. However, Jack's first prediction came true. The football match ended exactly as the prophet said. Does this mean that his other predictions will come true too? At night, Lainey was alone because Cal was away on business. Lainey woke up because of the bad weather. It was indeed hailing outside. In the morning, unable to bear the paranoia, she went to her doctor to get checked. However, Lainey's health was perfectly fine. Later, she asked Pete directly if he put Jack up to it. Pete assured his ex that he doesn't think much about her. Moreover, Pete believes Lainey's life is meaningless because all she does is seek acceptance from others. When Pete realized that Lainey was seriously concerned, he reassured her, saying that Jack is just a regular homeless guy who talks nonstop about everything. Sometimes he's right, sometimes he's wrong. Those words indeed helped Lainey calm down. In the evening, she visited her father and gave him a birthday present. Lainey has tense relations with her sister Gwen, and the father is not interested in her career. In such moments, Lainey feels her life is empty. The worst part is that Cal is almost never around. Now he's doing commercials in New York. Refusing the cake to avoid ruining her figure, Lainey left and smoked in the car. Later, unable to resist, she called Cal, who was sleeping in a hotel at the time. Suddenly, Lainey asked her fiancé what he would do if he found out she had only a week to live. Hearing about the homeless psychic, Cal dismissed it as nonsense and advised his bride not to dwell on it. However, the prediction did not give Lainey any rest, so in the middle of the night, she went to find Prophet Jack. He didn't even remember her right away, by the way. Lainey handed him a bag with fortified strawberry wine, but he wasn't interested. He would have preferred a warm jacket or good boots. Lainey asked how much Pete had paid him. Jack assured her that nobody paid him and that he's never wrong. But Jack would be glad to know that he was wrong this time. Maybe it would allow him to live a normal life. Lainey asked him to predict the future again and handed him a bill. At first, Jack muttered something incoherent, but then he said there would be an earthquake in San Francisco tomorrow morning. Before Lainey left, Jack advised her to watch her step. And indeed, a few seconds later she broke her heel. Lainey spent her morning as usual at the gym. Coming home, she didn't hear anything about the earthquake in San Francisco in the news bulletin. Lainey was relieved, convinced that Jack was wrong. However, she rejoiced too soon. Just as Lainey was about to leave, the TV reported the earthquake in San Francisco, which fortunately caused no damage. Realizing she had less than a week to live, Lainey couldn't hold back her emotions. At night she was unable to sleep. Until this Wednesday, Lainey considered her life perfect, but now everything was falling apart. Pete is the only one who could listen to her. Lainey feels she has nothing left to lose, so despite being engaged to Cal, she offered Pete some fun. However, he wasn't up for it, advising Lainey to radically change her life if she really believes in this prediction. Perhaps then her predetermined fate will also change. Lainey isn't sure if she's ready for that, as the career has always been her priority. Nevertheless, Lainey mustered up her resolve and visited her sister Gwen. Now was her chance to tell everyone close to her how much she values them. Since the girl's mother passed away, their family has been estranged. And even now, when Lainey tried to be frank, she couldn't get any understanding from her sister. Gwen has devoted herself to the family. She has wonderful children, but her husband has a drinking problem. Lainey can't understand this because from the outside her life seems perfect. Though Gwen claims to be happy, it's clear that she's not. Lainey was forced to simply walk away. Finally, Cal returned from New York. He was shocked to find the apartment a mess and many empty fast food containers. It was not at all like Lainey, who was now looking through an old photo album. Seeing a childhood photo of Lainey, Cal was surprised. He didn't know his fiancée used to be an ugly duckling. Now Cal was confused, not knowing what was happening with Lainey and how to react to it. Lainey realized that Cal never truly loved her. All he saw in her was the beautiful appearance. If Lainey loses her career and becomes less attractive, Cal will have no reason to be with her. To avoid further conversation on the topic, Cal took Lainey to the stadium and offered to play. The guy thought it would help his bride not to dwell on such nonsense. Failing to get support and understanding from her loved one, Lainey decided to break up with him. Now she can't afford to waste an extra minute on something empty. That same night, Lainey got drunk at a bar. There was a news report on the morning news about the labor strike. Lainey was supposed to interview them, but she's nowhere to be found. Dennis was about to send Andrea instead, but at the last moment, Lainey showed up and looked completely different, which surprised Pete and everyone else. Now Lainey no longer cared about her image and spoke her mind. Lainey interviewed the protesters who were fighting for their rights. Lainey was still drunk, which gave her courage. She infected everyone around her with her energy, and at the end of the interview, the workers picked her up in their arms, cheering. Later, Lainey woke up at Pete's house with a terrible hangover. Pete gave her rum and coke to ease her discomfort. Lainey didn't immediately remember what happened yesterday. When Pete told her she was on live TV without makeup and without brains, she was shocked. Her shameful report was shown on all channels. Now she truly became famous, but it's not the kind of fame Lainey dreamed of. She no longer minds dying because without the career and fiancé, her life is over anyway. Pete received a call from Dennis and lied that he hadn't seen Lainey since yesterday. She asked Pete for permission to stay a little longer, and he didn't object at all. With only 2 days left, Lainey wasn't ready to spend them on hairstyling, makeup, or proper nutrition. From now on, she would live the way she wanted. Previously, it never occurred to Lainey that there could be anything more important in life than work. But Pete believes otherwise. It was a surprise for Lainey to learn that Pete has a son from a previous relationship, and today he was planning to spend the whole day with him. Lainey joined them. Tommy immediately recognized her, which is not surprising. Now everyone in town knows Lainey. They had a great time at the amusement park, and late in the evening, took Tommy home. Lainey used to not know how to get along with children and considered them an encumbrance, but it wasn't as bad as she thought it would be. For Pete, parting with his son is always difficult. His relationship with Tommy's mother didn't work out because she came from a strict religious family. In the end, it resulted in divorce. Thanks to Pete, Lainey didn't think about Prophet Jack all day. Today is Tuesday, which means Lainey has 1 day left, not counting Thursday. She didn't want to be alone, so she went to Pete's again. Passion arose between them. The next morning, Pete and Lainey came to work together. They started dating again, although Lainey knows it's her last day. Lainey was sure she would be fired today, but instead, the colleagues threw her a party. It turned out that Lainey won the competition and got a job as the morning news anchor because her report made a sensation. Dennis, Andrea, and others congratulated Lainey. Seeing her success, Pete felt superfluous. Later, she approached Pete and said they had a few hours before she flew to New York. Lainey is happy because her promotion means that Prophet Jack was wrong when he claimed she wouldn't get promoted. Lainey wants Pete to go to New York with her, but he can't be away from his son. Besides, he's convinced that ambition will always come first for Lainey. The girl was genuine only when she thought she had only a week to live. Lainey was determined to go to New York regardless of Pete's opinion. This is what she had dreamed of her whole life. Before leaving, Lainey visited her father. She had always been sure that the father loved her sister more, but it turned out she was wrong. In fact, the father recorded and kept all her broadcasts. They watched a recording from the family archive together. In the video, little Lainey tried to cheer up her mother, who was already very ill at that time. Pete regrets that he could never sincerely talk to his daughter. There was no understanding between them, but despite everything, they always remained a family. After this conversation, Lainey felt relieved. Meanwhile, Jack continued to preach. Pete approached him and called him a fraud because Lainey got the job after all. Jack argued back, saying that if Lainey dies tomorrow, she won't get the job, meaning he'll be right. Lainey boarded the plane and was in a great mood while Pete drank with a colleague at the bar. Pete doesn't want to admit to himself that he loves Lainey. A storm broke out, causing panic among all the passengers on the plane, and only Lainey remained calm, confident that nothing bad would happen today. When the news reported on the disappearance of one of the planes a mile from the destination, Pete rushed to the airport, trying to call Lainey. He urgently bought a ticket to New York. On Thursday morning, Lainey was getting ready for an interview, unaware that Pete had already boarded a plane to New York. Lainey was brought to the set of the Good Morning America news. Once in the studio, Lainey couldn't believe it. After years of hard work, her dream had finally come true. Lainey was introduced to her new colleagues. Today she is to interview the famous journalist and politician Deborah Connors. The live broadcast of the morning news began. Deborah had already arrived at the studio. She's a very busy person. Her day is scheduled literally by the minute. It was a great honor for Lainey to meet Deborah Connors, who had always been her idol. While Pete was on the subway, Lainey's family and colleagues were getting ready to watch her first report from New York. The day before, Deborah received an award for her 25 years of contribution to television. Lainey was supposed to ask questions strictly according to the plan, but instead, she asked Deborah if the award was worth it. The woman sacrificed personal happiness for her career, breaking off her engagement with her loved one 25 years ago. With tears in her eyes, Deborah said she regretted it. The time with her loved one was the happiest in her life. If she had the chance, Deborah would change everything. Everyone who watched the interview was shocked. Lainey confessed that she made the same sacrifice to appear on national television. Listening to the interview, Gwen took the husband's hand. Deborah knows she will regret her words on live television. Lainey was sure it was the end of her career, but the TV channel director was on the contrary very pleased with her report. No one had ever heard any revelations from Deborah Connors before. To everyone's surprise, Lainey turned down the job, intending to return home. For the first time in her life, she felt free. There was a brawl on the street. Pete noticed Lainey too late. Someone fired a shot. Lainey was urgently taken to intensive care, where she underwent emergency surgery. It was already Friday. Pete held unconscious Lainey's hand, believing that if she was still alive, Jack's prediction wouldn't come true. Lainey regained consciousness, and Pete confessed his love to her. She is the one he wants to spend his life with. Of course, Lainey reciprocated. Pete showed her a happy life. Soon the couple returned to Seattle, and Lainey moved in with her beloved. He and Tommy attended the match where Cal played. By the way, he is Tommy's idol. From now on, Lainey lives as if every day is her last, because one of it could really be the last. And Jack continues his vagabond life, predicting match